Are you invested in an EV company that's really going to benefit off the transition to electric vehicles? Well, that's sort of the topic here, and I think a big industry shift that I'm recognizing. So, yesterday I made a video about NIO's pivot in battery swapping and how they are building this huge network of battery swap stations. And I think, yeah, it means a lot for the NIO business model because essentially now everybody can become a partner, a business owner, a beneficiary of swap stations, and that means that NIO is trying to build this mode of becoming an infrastructure provider and make battery swapping a more accepted industry standard as well as a bigger phenomenon in the end. And we know why NIO is doing that. It's because it's their approach of making EV feasible, right? It's a big vision, it's a big gamble, if you will. And in the past, they've been criticized a lot for the risk that they're taking and the money that they're taking in order to do that. But what is this shift about, and why I'm saying whether or not every EV play out there really is an EV play? Well, today we've got some news that's in stark contrast to what NIO is doing, which is basically going further down the road and driving forward the EV adoption. The different news that we got today is coming from Zeekr, also in the beginning a pure EV play, a company owned by Geely. It's one of their ventures, if you will, a startup, a small brand, but a very close NIO competitor in the EV space. In the beginning, I was always a bit skeptical about their designs, but over time, their models really convinced me that this company is doing some great stuff actually, and is also supported by the sales numbers. They have been selling almost equal amounts to NIO's, although a bit priced a bit cheaper. So still, backed by this huge company, Geely. It seems like Zeekr is a big deal, and there might be still a big deal going forward. And by the way, they're also now listed on the New York Stock Exchange or in the US, and you can buy their shares. So you may think this is also one of those potentially successful EV companies in the future. But what they've announced now is that they're also going into hybrids. So we know many companies out there are doing hybrids. BYD, the Volkswagens and so on, like the legacy players, are all doing hybrids. And sometimes people confuse them with electric vehicles because they have a small battery. And then there is companies like Li Auto who have been inventing, or not inventing, but accelerating a transition to, let's say, a little movement towards range extended vehicles, which are basically having a larger battery but using a little internal combustion engine motor in order to charge the battery. And they are now also struggling a little bit with building out the infrastructure, like the super fast charging 5C chargers that they're using for the Li Auto Mega. And now we also got the news with Zeekr suddenly going into hybrids. And, couple of people out there are also saying oh, EVs are dead. And in the end, currently the consumer doesn't want EVs anymore. So it's becoming fewer and fewer pure plays. And it seems that it's actually not that easy to really just sell purely battery electric vehicles instead of selling hybrids, selling range extended vehicles, and so on. And it seems like it's Tesla, there is NIO, and who else? XPeng currently. But the list seems to get more narrow and shorter and shorter. And that's what this whole industry shift, in my opinion, seems to be about, that it's a consolidation in which only a few players are able to reach the scale with pure electric vehicles. And it's not easy, and in difficult times, players like Zeekr are now trying to save their business or look for quick wins, for short-term strategic adoptions and so on. And it's telling me that these companies don't have a holistic ecosystem and solution that is competitive out there. And seems like NIO, in contrast with the news yesterday, venturing on and making battery swapping a big thing, is a big contrast to these other developments, and it will be a hard time for companies like Li Auto, Zeekr, and so on to become BEV pure plays. And at some point, this will make them not as competitive in the pure EV market, which I think ultimately down the line is still the way everything will end up with. So we're currently in a period of fewer demand of pure play battery electric vehicles due to a couple of different reasons, which I previously also discussed on the channel. But I think, there is a big technological and cost factor here why in the end we will all end up driving fully electric. And then which companies will win the market ultimately? Possibly those who always focused on this pure play. At least that's my opinion. And these are some trends that I'm noticing with the news flow of the last couple of weeks only. But it's just heating up a little bit. And that's what I wanted to say in this video today. Thanks for watching. See you in my next videos.